Welcome to New Tracks Modeling. New Tracks provides unique mentoring opportunities to enhance your modeling skills by connecting with talented modelers and manufacturers from around the globe who generously share their knowledge and artistic expertise. Build your confidence, refine modeling techniques, and share your projects with a supportive community of fellow modelers, all while enjoying the world's most rewarding hobby. Join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern on Zoom and YouTube for our free live program. Missed a program? No problem. Individual show segments are uploaded to YouTube for convenient on-demand viewing. Be sure to connect with the New Tracks community by joining the New Tracks Facebook page, where you can interact with other modelers and see what they are modeling. Visit our website at www.newtracksmodeling.com, where you'll find information about upcoming events and the latest issue of our monthly newsletter, Observations. And now, here is the host of New Tracks Modeling, Tom Farrell.
Good evening, and welcome to New Tracks Modeling. We're coming to you live on Zoom and YouTube, as we do every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. We're glad you're joining us. Tonight's broadcast is part of a growing platform founded by Jim Kello, whose vision was to create a collaborative educational space where modelers of all experience levels could come together to learn, share, and grow. That mission lives on through our strong mentorship community, where experienced hobbyists help others elevate their skills and confidence in model railroading. New Tracks Modeling extends beyond this live program. We're proud to support an active Facebook page, a dedicated website, and the new Tracks Modeler magazine, which will reach nearly 9,000 subscribers. We're proud to announce that the launch of this new Tracks Modeler magazine is a brand new online magazine that will take our content, community, and creativity to the next level. As you'll see later in the program, I'll show you where we're going with this. Stay tuned as we evolve, offering even more in-depth articles, expert tips, and inspiring stories, all designed to support and celebrate the model railroading hobby we share. We're also excited to continue growing the New Tracks Modeling Scholarship Program, an initiative you'll learn more about later in the show. Everything we offer is free to participants, powered entirely by a team of passionate volunteers committed to enriching the model railroading hobby. Before we begin tonight's lineup, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Brennan's Model Railroading.
Tonight's New Tracks Modeling Meetup is sponsored by Brennan's Model Railroading. For over 25 years, Brennan's Model Railroading has been offering unique products focused on the O-scale market. Their flagship product, Brennan's Better Ballast, was an instant hit and continues to be the industry leader. The prototypical size and natural color blend of real crushed granite make it the choice for discerning modelers. Since then, Brennan's has developed a complementary line of natural ground cover materials. Brennan's also has craftsman kits that anyone can build. The complete photographically illustrated instructions assume you've never done this before, and explain in step-by-step detail how to create an outstanding model. The Frank Ellison Tribute series of kits are amazing additions to any layout. These kits take Frank Ellison's scratch-built iconic structures to a new level using modern methods and materials with Dennis Brennan's additional details and amazing instructions. See the complete line of products on the Brennan's Model Railroading website. Use the QR code to visit.
I encourage all our participants on Zoom and YouTube to support our sponsors. We do not have terribly high cost to produce this show, but we do encourage you to make contributions to our scholarship program. Now, let's look ahead at what this evening's program looks like. So tonight, we're going to start off with Carroll Creek Designs, Ryan Vigus. He's going to show us some new products, principally ON18. We've got Steve Bittenger returning, scratch building the Ralston Purina facility. What's interesting about that is all of Steve's buildings principally all of them are outside. So there's a whole different set of circumstances they have to hold up to. We've got Bob Davidson, modeling on a budget. Some of you have been on the show a while. Approximately a year ago, he did a whole series of these. They were quite fascinating. This evening, we're calling it Cheap Tricks. Later this fall, he'll do multiple segments on this modeling on a budget. And we've got Jamie Bothwell, LocoFi installation. We've got my son calling. Hold on. And then we've got reliable operation with handheld switches, turnouts by our very own Earl Hackett. So it's an exciting show and it should run the full length this evening. And but before we get rolling with the show, we'd like to highlight our new Tracks Modeling Scholarship.
Are you a model railroader going to college in academic year 2025-26? If you are pursuing a STEAM degree, apply for the new Tracks Modeling Mentoring Scholarship. For the 2025-26 academic year, 3 $2,000 scholarships will be available. You can apply online at the QR code shown or on the new Tracks Modeling website. Model railroaders can support the new Tracks Modeling Mentoring Scholarship, the only national scholarships for model railroaders from a nonprofit organization. Donate online on Zephy. All donations are tax deductible.
Now, if we could spotlight Bob Davidson, if he's on here. There he is.
I am.
And a few words on our scholarship.
Sure, Tom. Thank you. Just over 3 weeks left in the application window. So please, if you know any young folks that are modelers who may qualify for the scholarship, please remind them. We have gotten a couple of emails in the last week from some folks that are finishing up finals and say that they're still going to be sending in their applications. So right now we're on track, it looks like, to have at least seven, possibly more applications for the 3 scholarships. But we'd always love to hear from more folks and get them onto our list so that we can keep reminding them through the years about this scholarship. So this year, again, we'll be offering 3 $2,000 scholarships, which will bring our total over 3 years to offering $13,000 in scholarships. That's pretty good for a nonprofit run by volunteers. So we have a lot to be proud of. Last week, I thanked the donors, and we remain indebted to them, both our corporate and individual donors. But I would like to just give a quick shout out to all the folks who volunteer their time helping out with the scholarship. Certainly our board of directors, Jim Kello and Phil and Tom Farrell and Jeff Jordan, and our committee people, Steve, Cheryl, Jamie, Bothwell, Doc Lovelace. Thank you guys so much. And our other volunteers, Greg Cassidy, who's graciously helped us out at all the Timonium shows the last few years. So without these folks, this really wouldn't be happening. So thank you. And we could always use more help. So if you're involved with a club or if you're active in your NMRA division or region, please get in touch with us, ntmms@newtracksmodeling.com. And I'm sure you could help us out distributing flyers, having a banner at a meeting or whatever. So we're already talking about the 2026-27 scholarship year. So we plan on being around for a while. So your help would be appreciated. Thank you, Tom. Back to you.
Thank you, Bob. Just to reiterate, the scholarship is one of the principal reasons we're here. We want to drive the youth in model railroading to ensure we have a future with this hobby. So encourage you to make either a contribution in time as a volunteer or in monetary. So with that, we'll start tonight's program with Carroll Creek Designs, and we've got Ryan Vigus. Is that the correct pronunciation, by the way? I always call you Ryan.
Yes, Vigus.
Well, welcome to the show. It's been a couple months, actually.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be back.
We encourage what I refer to as cottage industries. These are people like Ryan and Bob Geldmacher. They're partners in crime with Carroll Creek Design. We had them on earlier in the year, and they are sponsors of the show. So with that introduction, let's start with your PowerPoint, Phil.
Okay. Let's go to the next one. Give you all a little background on Carroll Creek real quick. It's actually, we're a few years old. It started a few years ago with Bob Geldmacher designing some tenders in ON30 for some dead rail for the geared locomotives. And that's just evolved into some ON30 cars. And go to the next slide. He did quite a few different styles, square and round corner tenders. He brought them to the Harrisburg Narrow Gauge show a few years back, and I saw what he was doing with it, and we started talking and told him what I wanted to do in ON18, and he looked at me funny and he goes, ON18, and from there we had many talks and started more and more designing together. And go to the next slide. And over the past few years, we've really come along in the ON18 market and the ON30. This is one of our brand new offerings this year, is a wood coal tender for some porters, and also some room in there for dead rail. There is quite a bit of different mock-ups that we can do with these, and different trucks that we can utilize on the bottom of them to actually make it look like another drive shaft if you wanted to put it up with a geared locomotive. Go to the next slide. One of the brand new offerings in O scale, and we have it available in S and in HON30, is a wagon series that we developed for logging. We were at the Pittsburgh convention, and quite a few wagons were there, but a lot of them were sold out. A lot of them were wood kits, and the basic design for Carroll Creek is we want to give you a starting point. We're not a scale trains. We are not Bachmann. We want to give you the capability of a starting point in a kit, and then detailing it from there, going from there. We try to keep everything at a lower cost, which we think helps everybody in the long run. We want to be able to give you that starting point so you're not cutting styrene, you're not working out edges. You have a basic kit, and then from there you can kit bash it, you can detail it, you can do whatever you want. These wagon series, we're going to have 4 in. The first offering is the one in the middle, which is just a standard goods wagon, usually around logging camps and things like that. Next slide. Our newest one is a lowboy, and this has been very popular. The lowboy comes with either a dual or a quad horse setup. We have horses too. A lot of companies sell the wagons, but nobody sells the horses. So we have a couple different versions of them to try to keep everything in-house. And with the wagon series, we're going to end up with 4. Then this one is just hit the market. In about a month or two, we're going to have a high side center dump wagon for mining and things like that, bulk loads. Hopefully we can jumpstart in the O scale, and a lot of these are used in micros. which the ON18 fits perfect for. And we wanted to give a lot of options so people can do a couple different micros if they want it. Next slide. One of the driving forces when we started ON18, when I started it with Bob, is that there really isn't any trucks to go underneath of ON18 freight cars. People were using their standard N scale trucks. That's where we started out with just regular N scale trucks on the bottom. They looked out of place. They weren't correct. It took quite a few months, but with the designs that Bob did, we came up with the ON18 freight truck set. Next slide. The trucks look better underneath of the cars. They broaden the wheelbase a little bit, so they make them a little bit more stable, but they use the standard N gauge wheels. We typically tell our customers to go to the train shows, buy as many old Atlas, the old AHM cars that they can find for a couple dollars. Well, now they're probably about $5 now. Pull the wheels off. They have the deeper flanges. They hold a lot better. And when these are underneath of a freight car, you typically don't see the wheels anyway. They're low, they're sitting, and they do hold pretty good. Next slide. As you can see, they're beefy. They work well. You can interchange the wheels in and out. Anything in a 36 to 40 inch wheel with a typical 1 millimeter shaft will work on these. When you buy our kits, any of the 2-truck 13-foot ON18 kits, they come with 2 of these trucks, and you can put on whatever wheels you would like. Number 2 screws hold them onto the bottom, which give it a little bit of center weight. Performs really well. These Bob did an excellent job. Next slide. In designing these and keeping them affordable. The trucks have been a big hit, even in some scratch building that we have sold to a lot of customers. Just really make the car stand out a little bit more than just using standard N scale trucks. Next slide. We're also getting into a structure series. We're going to be offering structures. These are our first ones. This is a 9-foot O-scale whistle stop depot, mostly for rural settings. We have a 6-foot also whistle stop in O-scale. These will probably be also available in HON 30 eventually, but for now we're sticking with the O-scale structures. We're going to be designing some structures for ON18, an engine house to house the Porter and Shea and diesel engines we offer, which are going to be a lot smaller than standard O-scale engine houses, even for Bachmann Porters. You could put 2 of our Sheas in that engine house. So we're going to design these a little bit differently for micros. The ON18 riding the wave, because that's the new ON30 in this industry, it seems, will be usually incorporated. We've had quite a few customers incorporate an ON18 industrial track in their ON30 or O-scale layouts to go around different industries. Even there's quite a few that we've designed for logging. And it's really taken off. And I think the great aspect of it is that you can have an O-scale layout on a 12-inch disc if you want. There isn't any really restrictions in the space that you once had. Next slide. The offering we came out with in January was an ON18 rail truck. The rail truck is on our underframe chassis, and all of our locomotives, the rail truck, the Porter, the Shea, both diesel engines, they all take the Cato 11-109 drive. Easy to get. They are fairly inexpensive now, if you can still get them before any of the stuff gets imposed on them. The rail truck is available as you see it on the left with the stake body back on the bed. Comes complete. We can do it with drive or without. We also have two other options, which is a rear box and a tank. The rear box is designed to hold the dead rail stuff. That is also a very big aspect of ON18. Most of our stuff all over has been sold to many countries, and a lot of people send us pictures, send us emails, tell them what they're doing. Most of our stuff has been dead railed. Most of our stuff has had DCC installed in it. So as you'll see later on in some of our engines, there's plenty of room to do this, and it really brings it up. You don't have to just run a DC in it. But the rail truck was a new offering in January that we came out with. Next slide. We also, as I said, have people send us pictures. We started the ON18 craze with this engine, a one-cylinder Shay. I guess everybody remembers there was a one-cylinder Shay by a gentleman, Harry, and I can't remember his last name. He was on Shapeways. He was offering it. Shapeways went out of business. We thought that we liked the design, but we wanted just a little bit more detail than what he had in his. Went to him asking. He was so pleased that the one-cylinder Shay was going to be continued. So we worked on this for quite a few months and came up with this. Again, it's a Cato 11109 drive that drives it. It's universal in all of our engines. The one-cylinder Shay is for fun. And that's what we're trying to keep this hobby, is just for fun. We know that, trust me, I get emails every day. Nobody ever made one. We know that. But there's a lot of aspects in this hobby that is not militarized and dictated by rivet counters, and ON30 and ON18 are certainly that aspect. And we came out with this. Now we will be coming out. We have redesigned it, and that's in the works also. We'll be offering a two-cylinder Shay, a little bit more prototypical. But this has been really what started us in ON18 and just continued on with a couple different engines that we'll see in later slides. Next slide. A plethora of ON18 cars. We have 4 different cabooses that are available. This is our transfer caboose. The cabooses that we have are, again, I wouldn't say whimsical. We do have one that is based off of West Side Lumber with a cupola, and I get emails every day saying that there was never one like that. Well, yes, there is, and we based it off of these. These, again, are loose offerings to give you a starting point. That's what we want to give you. A starting point where you don't have to sit and think of how to glue something together, get a box going. For most of these people that we have had that come up to our booths at train shows, I wouldn't say are out of the box modelers, but a lot of them want some simplicity. They don't quite have the skills, so we give them this, and then from this point they roll with it. And they really are enjoying the simplicity of the kits and then making it their own. Next slide. I wanted to get into ON18 because I'm a traction guy. So I wanted some traction engines in ON18 to run throughout my towns. The engine on the right, our end cab diesel, Bob came up with. We have an end cab and a center cab diesel. Again, everything is running off of the Cato 11109 drives. Reliable. I've had 2 drives running some of the Shays that you've seen, and this Fisher Work Loco on the right that have run now for about 2 years, 8 hours a day, twice a day, twice a weekend for these shows. And I have done no maintenance on this Cato drive. They're very reliable, and they just run and run and run. But overall, this diesel is been converted with DCC. A couple people have done that. couple people have done dead rail. Underneath the hood, it's hollow, so you have quite a bit of room. Clem from Warrior Models came up with a booster. You can take a 3.7 volt battery and put in here, and you're pretty good to go on dead rail. But we do have box cars and covered gondolas in ON18 that you can put behind it and make it a battery car. The cars are adapted well for industrial, also little excursion railroads if you want to put one into your layout. So there's a lot of different options that we try to give you. Next slide. This is an ON30, which was the first I did in an offering in ON30, was a logging caboose. Most of us have Bachmann coaches sitting somewhere on our workbench in a drawer. So I had quite a few with trucks on it. They really weren't what I needed. So what I did is I came out with an ON30 line for Carroll Creek that takes the coach truck and pops right on the bottom. And we have cabooses and some 2-axle freight cars that use that truck. Very nice. You can do short trains with it. A lot of narrow gauge stuff in camps using the 2-axle. And you can utilize those old Bachmann trucks that just are collecting dust underneath of your layout. So that is a whole line that we have. Next slide. Art Bloomer at the Pittsburgh show is a big fan of ours, and he did a diorama in the model contest. That is our 12-foot flat car and our cross-braced gondola that he used. And like I said, a lot of customers get emails every day with our equipment running on their layout, and we're very glad to see these photos. Next slide. Next one. Next slide. This shay comes to us from Australia. Had a gentleman purchase quite a few ON18. He loved it, loved the concept of it, and sent us some photos with our shay outrigged Australian style, which really comes across as, like I said in the beginning, it's a good starting point. It's a point that you can go with and make it your own. And that's exactly what we wanted to do with it. And it's growing, and we're doing developing each and every day, coming out with new stuff. The offerings of the 1-cylinder shay really complements what we are about at Carroll Creek. Just giving good value, giving a good starting point, and really giving you that palette that you can design and detail out. We're going to have some more offerings coming out, hopefully in the June show at Harrisburg. We're going to have some HON30 offerings, some more ON30, hopefully a couple different locos that we're working on in ON30 based off of this design, to keep them small, to keep them more backwoods oriented, and really just trying to come up with different concepts that aren't out there in the mainstream modeling companies. So next slide. If you have any questions, if you are doing anything and you need something done, you want something designed a little differently, give us a call. Shoot me a text, an email, and we'll get to you and talk it over and see what we can do for you. Next slide. And Tom, thanks for having us on again. And if there's any questions, anything I can answer.
Right. Ryan, this is Steve Sherrill.
Yes, Steve.
I think it's important to mention that many of your locomotives, cars are more than one piece. So it's easy to break them down and paint the different sections and parts.
Yes, they're all in kit form.
Okay.
Yep, they're all in kit form, and that's how you get them.
And
You get them,
there are instructions on the back of the packaging.
yes, an exploded picture to show you how the 4 parts go together. So we're better than IKEA.
Hey, Ryan, Tom
Yes.
Farrell here. I thought it was interesting that you've sold to Australia, and have you sold to continental Europe as well?
Oh yes, we actually sold to a couple people in Russia, believe it or not. But yes, they've New Zealand, Australia, Russia, Germany, England. Yes, they've gone all over, which amazes me every day.
That's fantastic. And do you see the growth in the, I mean, have you considered, for example, a small passenger car?
Yes, Bob and I are tooling an ON18, like a combine, starting with. We'll have that hopefully done with the design aspect of it, and probably coaches along with that also. We're going to do that I like to do that in ON18 and an ON30 release. The biggest constraint we have, Bob is retired. Bob loves designing and working that aspect of it, but unfortunately I still work for a living. So the design usually comes at about midnight to about 1 in the morning, and then I go to sleep and get up to go to work the next day. So that's really the constraint that we have. We have lots of ideas for passenger cars, engines, things like that, and detail parts. The structures that we want to offer, just tailoring it more to an ON18 thinking and implementing that. So you can do a lot on micros. The Micro Madness group on Facebook, Steve, Cheryl, and I have that page. And that's really ON18 where it stemmed from. People doing micros, trying to kit bash things and trying to be able to fit a lot in a small area. And in the micros really have taken off. And with the ON18, that's why we want to get into structures. And we want to try to keep Carroll Creek a small cottage industry. We don't want to grow. We don't want to be a Horizon Hobbies. We want to keep it small. We want to tailor and to our customers to figure out, what they want. We live off of that. Most everything that you guys have seen designed, the cabooses, everything, the shades have come from you. They come up to us at a train show, talk to us, tell us, hey, this I would really be neat, and we would like to see it. And it's not difficult to do. It's just time consuming. And that's where it's come from. And that's where really Carroll Creek has come from, is just talking to people and offering what they're asking for.
Well, I appreciate you being on this evening, and
Thank you for having me.
I have some of your locomotive shells, and I just started painting and detailing them. They are quite remarkable little guys, and appreciate you being on this evening. We'll have you on again.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being a sponsor as well.
My pleasure.
Well, next up, we have Steve Bittenger, and Steve Sherrill will be there as well. News and views with G-Scale. Steve's going to show us scratch building the Ralston Purina facility. But before we have Steve and Steve on, we're going to have the My Build video and Chris Course.
Don't miss the monthly New Tracks Modeling My Build event. My Build is where the modelers of New Tracks show what they have been building. See amazing modeling with some My Builds featuring specific topics for modeling. If you would like to have your models included in the My Build, please email your modeling photos to Chris Course at railrunner130@hotmail.com. If you are a first-time My Build participant, please include a photo of yourself.
encourage everybody that's a Zoomer and a YouTubers out there to participate in the My Build. It's one way to help mentor fellow modelers, showing off your skills and techniques in making model railroad structures, buildings, etc. So next up, we have Steve Bittenger and Steve Sherrill. Steve Bittenger is going to show us, there it is, making the Ralston Purina facility, which is actually a remarkable structure because it is, quite frankly, enormous. And we've got a world-class modeler here, and Steve. So with that introduction, Steve, it's up to you.
Well, good evening. I got one of the few buildings you can go and hide behind in scale. So as an introduction on this, I sent Tom a couple in progress as we were building this thing back from about, I don't know, 6 weeks ago. I got started on this. So I will just do a brief intro, and then after that, maybe we'll put up the slides that Tom has. So here's the goal on this whole project. The whole goal is this structure, which is at the moment 80 inches long and 49 inches tall and about 2 feet deep, has 2 more sections to be built, which are going to be behind me here. They're not there yet. When we get all done, I'll add 2 more feet to it. So we're going to be about 10 feet long and, like I said, 49 tall. I have a new expansion on the railroad. It's a benchwork section, and this is going to occupy part of that new area on that expansion that we're coming up with. So with that said, here's the next goal. The next goal is this whole thing must be built for under $100 at this size. And the only way you can do that is with a lot of clever use of recycled materials. And somebody mentioned that the background in our shop blended in too good with the building. That's because the paint on the building is the leftover paint that we painted the workshop with. So that's why they're both the same color. Starting out with the structure, I'll show you a couple of things and then we'll go into the slides. So this is typical framing. It's all done in PVC because we're going outside. There's no wood. The sheathing is the polycore sheathing like you use for real estate signs, political signs, that nature. I've talked about that before. And then it's put together with just plain old super glue, a lot of liquid nails and caulk. And the detail component, most of the detail components are leftovers I've had in trash boxes because you don't throw anything away. And I just cycle through and see what I have enough of. And that's what's going to get put in the building if it works for the model. So starting with that, this material here, which I will show you the end view of, this is typical PVC lumber if you buy at the lumber yard. This is just a piece of square stock from Pickett's. This we run through the table saw and we get it down to that size right there. So you get several of those as you do. And these things are just a hair over ½ an inch. Sometimes we run them at 5/8 because it works out for the mat. Also, these about 2 feet tall, but some of the stuff we do, it's just 8 foot lengths and we cut it to what we'd like to have. Next thing we're going to need is, this is stock PVC at ½ an inch. This is what makes these things right here. These are the corner braces that go inside the structure so it doesn't want to shift around on you. It's the integrity strength of the strength of a triangle gives you your integrity. And these things are positioned like this about every 10 inches inside the structure. When you build this, I build this, the framing, then the sheathing, and then everything's built on top of that. Unless you're going inside for a few details. So this is the sheathing material right here. Just a piece of it. It was a handy dandy real estate sign that we just ripped. And this stuff we can use to get it 2 feet wide, depends what the salespeople are using at the time. In the winter, after the snow plows go by, you just go out and pick this stuff up because it's been flattened on the ground and they don't want them anymore. So you have to live with the scars and some other stuff that are on it because it's not virgin material. The rest of the structure, we've got some corrugated materials you'll see here behind me. This is left over. This is Precision Products Company making this. It's available through Ozark Miniatures, bought them out. You can get that stuff from them in 15-inch sheets. This is just scrap, pure scrap. The rest of it that is built up on here, detail parts, pipe, and things of that nature, recycled materials. This is Steve's leftover sheets cut from tonight. It has a valuable piece of building material right here. These, we throw the cup away to keep this, right? All of the piping that's running up the side of here, the electrical conduits, are soda straws. They're built from the junction box down here, which is PVC and styrene, all the way up to the top where the mechanisms would be. You can get soda straws, I've talked about this before, in many, many sizes. This is like a medium size, works great for detailed parts just like that. Next thing we have on this building, obviously, are signs. We just got these a few days ago. Because we're outdoors, decals will not work very well. Number one, they fade. Number two, the weather gets to them, they get wet, and they start to fall apart. So this is a vinyl. This is going to be on our grain storage tanks that are going to get built next. I've got a bunch of these made. Everything you see up in here is vinyl, and it's on a 1/4 inch backer PVC that's been installed to. So this, you feel the back, install it on here, and then it's bonded onto the building. So that's all the materials that we're putting into this. And I think what I'll do is I'm going to slide this one portion forward. This is made in 5 pieces, so anybody can handle these things. And then we'll see the slides that we have on this. I'm going to just bring this section. I hope Steve has it on the camera. So that's what's behind the scenes. It's not very attractive inside, but that doesn't matter. We have it sealed up so we don't get insects and mice and all those people going inside here and living, bees, you name it. Here's our PVC framing. Here's these little triangular wedges that create the strength inside the structure. Cross bracing every so often, and it is shot together with a pin gun and glue. We're using glue, liquid nails, PL 375, super glue, whatever we had left over that works on this project. It's setting on a base of the same thing. This very same material right here is what the structure is built on top of. This stuff's not particularly sturdy, so when you build it on there, you're going to use a heavier base material down here at the bottom. We're going to go in there something like that, make an outline, make a rectangle. That's what strengthens us up for the project. The windows that we have left over from old kits, same old thing. Didn't go out and buy any. Today, as putting the signs on top of here, we are at $86.03 on our project. So we've got the grain tanks to do on the one end of this. Those are all scrap leftover sewer pipe that we're going to chop up and make those. They'll be about 2.5 feet tall. These are what goes on those, the detail part. Way up on top, if we look up here, you see ductwork running. That's what's sending grain across the structures of the various parts. That's nothing but PVC wrapped with metallic duct tape, not the cheap stuff. This is the stuff that's shiny foil. You put it on, you use a block of wood, you press it down, and that makes that part of the component. If you recall, while I'm speaking about this, the 2 tracks we have here, because this is 1967 on our railroad, we have 2 types of cars bringing grain to this facility. Old method is box cars with grain doors. The grain is put inside there. The doors are marked off, closed off. These are like sort of cardboard type of grain doors. These cars pulling up to a bay, the grain being taken out by whatever method they could. They shoveled some out, they vacuumed them out, they sucked it out, all sorts of methods for getting grain out of those cars. End of the 60s, then we start seeing covered hoppers. So we're going to have a drop area right back here where that grain will be dropping into this. Down the tracks of ways, we have a final warehouse on the end. They're going to be bringing bags and materials like that. Obviously, most of you know Purina. They make a lot of pet products, dog chows, and so forth. Our factory's in the chicken business here. This was a big deal with Purina making chicken products. So that's primarily what this factory will do.
Tell them about the boxcar.
Yeah, and we're going to stop here for a second. Back in August, we took this car and put it out on the railroad, set it outside. So now we're 8 months of the car sitting outside. And it's been through quite a bit. It's been through snow. It went through a hailstorm. It went through rain. We had some steel wool on the roof that we let rust down over the sides. This car was bright and shiny when it went outside. It has faded down considerably. And we were looking at it today, and I think we're where we want to be. I think it's time to pour car a break and say, okay, you're weathered. We're going to bring it in, end of project. So does weathering work outdoors? I would say, yeah. Would I do this with HO and little cars? No, I don't think I would. I think this is a limited type of thing we can do. And Tom, if you start running our slides.
Next slide. You can talk to this, Steve. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
here we are early on, and we are looking at this portion of the structure right in here. And oh, we lost it.
No, it's back. It's back.
What I'm seeing is delayed.
It's back.
Okay, so that's the skeleton that's in this thing. If we take my little man right here, here's typical little G-scale fellow, and we do the stories in this thing. This is 10 stories tall, this part of the structure. This is right off of the real world facility that's out in the Midwest. So that just gives you some perspective as to what that's like. Building the shells, you pretty much have to put one side of sheathing on them as you go. That keeps them from racking back and forth. After that, you can start doing all your bracing, come around on the sides, and start doing the same thing until you have it in front of us. That's where it's going to be. Where the windows are here, if I tap on these, that is actually cut out. This has been cut through, and that material put on from the back. You can get away with this look here. This is over top of this material, so you can do it either way. Next slide. I still see this.
Back.
All right, now we're looking at the long warehouse portion here. Everything looks pretty white. That's how the structures look in the beginning. Everything is just built straight material. There's no paint or anything done in advance. Everything is glued up. After it's glued up, individual small pieces. You'll note in this case here, we don't have any of the detail work. There's a brick facade that's been applied to this portion. All of that is built down here flat on my workbench and is put up there. That's a two-step process. And the red paint was left over again. It was leftover Rust-Oleum. Next slide.
Back of it.
Okay, so the rear side is strictly flush. It's going to go up against the wall on the layout, or against the foundation of my house. There's no extra detail on that back side. Everything back there, when we put it in place, these sections are going to be secured together with glue. If we want to get them apart again, you can use a knife to separate those, move the sections around. But the simplest thing I've found is either use caulking or glue, tap just every so often there to hold the structure. It's not going to go anywhere. These things are big and heavy. It's not an issue with the weather. Our next slide, please. I'm seeing these laid on a little monitor here. Okay, now we're back to where we had this. And once again, down below, the detail aspect of this was loading dock height because
Steve,
of
Steve, nobody's explaining to you, they can't cut between your slideshow and back to your live presentation. So they either have to have your slideshow big or you big. They can't do both. So we can't see, on YouTube, you're not going to be able to see what you're pointing to. So you might be just verbalize everything.
Okay.
So actually, let me tell everybody, if you grab right between Steve's picture and the slide on your screen, every one of you can slide it back and forth and make Steve bigger and the slide smaller. So I can't do that for you, but you can. So if you go right in between, there's a little handle there. And if you drag it over, you'll notice you can make Steve bigger and the shared slide smaller. So each of you can control that if you'd like to.
But Phil, what's YouTube going to see?
We'll see tomorrow.
I'll let Steve tell me what he sees. I'll go from there. Okay.
All right, I have a question while you're doing this, Steve.
Sure.
I see on the detailed PowerPoint, I see brickwork. And
Yes.
obviously, when you procure the flat signs, it's not brickwork. What are you using there? Just out of curiosity.
On this portion,
Yeah, on the right in front of the boxcar there, where all the windows are. Yeah.
brick itself, that is the Precision Products G-scale brickwork applied to the backer.
What are you gonna use?
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
what color?
It is called. It's painted.
Okay.
It's painted right now. It's finished.
Okay.
It's painted brick.
So just
Okay.
out of curiosity, do you put the brick on in individual pieces, or do you put it in a large piece and put the trim detail on top of the bricks?
On this one, you put them on in individual pieces, small pieces.
So basically the detail is glued on first and then the bricks are laid in between the basically framing details.
The horizontal lines are built on top of the sheathing, all this, then the brickwork is filled in between. That's how it's done.
Cool.
Okay.
Right. So once you put that on, you're gonna have rough edges. This is using caulk, white caulk, that is thin and brushed in to fill the joints against these beams. Otherwise, we have gaps in there because you can't make those exactly tight. So that's the simplest way. Put them on, caulk it, paint it in that order. That help you?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, lost track. Next slide for me.
It's got the same picture you've got right there, Steve.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
And I'll just pass quickly on this. So once this is in place, from right to left, we're arriving at this site. This is dead end track at the right hand side. That's just going to be blanked off. That's going to be up against the wall. Incoming freight equipment comes in from the left, from a rail yard over here to my left. And the finished job, I guess you'd say in the very beginning of this thing, what we'll have to do on site is install the track, install the ballast and rail, guardrail and these drop pits and all that type of thing. All that detail, it's not going to be done here in the workshop. This is going to walk itself outside and that'll happen out there.
Is it gonna be lit?
No. No, I don't like any of the, I like the buildings inside and in the indoor layout. Some of those outside, we do not like them. And there's a reason for that. We don't run trains outside in the dark. That's why.
Is this the largest structure you've made?
No.
No, this is, no, the largest one is a anchor plate glass plant and it is 6 feet longer than this. It's 14 and a half feet long, that one. This will be about the third largest one. Yes, 2 of them bigger than this. There's a power plant that occupies a 12-foot wall. Yes.
Now, you've learned a lot of things over the years making these. You mentioned, in addition to the weather, you have bugs and creatures you have to keep out of there. Was that learned, or right from the get-go you sealed these things off?
Combination answer here. So if you buy ready-made buildings and you put them outside, a lot of those do not have any bottom to them at all. They're just 4 walls with nothing under them. And that's a big mistake to put those outside because every creature out there has figured out how they can dig underneath the building and occupy the interior. It doesn't matter what it is, they know to go in there because it's a nice dry place for them to live, and that's where they want to live. On all the ones we put outside, I put 1/4 inch hardy back concrete board underneath of them, or we actually pour concrete and set them in concrete on a concrete foundation. That has been the simplest method. Either glue it to the hardy board, put it on concrete, and then even, no matter what you do, there'll be some creature come along. Like I had a nasty groundhog. It really did a lot of damage one year. So you just live with it, you know. It's just what it is. You just live with the creatures.
And the other thing that people, I think they understand, but you have to deal with 4 seasons. These buildings are out there through spring, summer, fall, and winter. You might share that I found a particularly attractive building that had fallen in, and I asked you I asked you on a visit whether you modeled it that way, because to me that looked excellent, but you've since rebuilt that one. Is that correct?
Yes, it really didn't occur to me that that was looked like a model until you brought it up. And I'm really actually embarrassed that he got to see this thing when it's falling down. So I brought it in and rebuilt it. It looks nice and new now. If you want to make dilapidated buildings outside, you don't have to do anything. Just put them out there and wait.
That's what's fascinating about the whole process. I, by the way, thought that was a beautiful building all fallen in.
Sorry to disappoint you, but
Have you've had a operating session now that we're into spring?
yes, we did. Just Sunday, 2 weeks ago, we had our first session. Mm-hmm.
And you run dead rail, so you're just good to go once the turnouts are cleared of any debris, basically, and the track's inspected, right?
Yes, we had to move the operating session by a day because we had a heavy rain the day before. And the next morning, you end up with ballast that has moved up into the switch points and various things, leaves, ballast, you name it, little twigs. So initially, when everybody arrives, usually the first people, a couple of them, make the rounds, throw all the switches, sweep them out a little bit. It takes about 30 minutes. And we have everything cleaned up and ready to roll. So that wouldn't have been necessary on short order had we not had that big rain preceding day. But we had a beautiful day for the operating day. Thank goodness the wind blew and it dried everything up. And I think we had, in everybody's estimation, they said we had the best operating session we've ever had. So I guess we're getting better as we go along.
When you have your operating sessions, I don't think people may understand, you actually have two layouts. You have the outdoor layout and you have a beautiful indoor layout. Does an operating session include both layouts? Because I know they link to one another, or is it simply outdoor?
No, that's all one. That's all part of the operations. We both, my railroad's point to point, with both ending points being indoors. When you arrive indoors, we actually you arrive in a room and you pass into actually a second room, because not only do I model Western Maryland, but we model over in the second room, B&O, as an interchange. So two of the people who are operators are inside all the time. They can't see what's happening on the outdoor. They stay in touch by radio.
Well, I think there's endless presentations here, because we've only seen very little of your outdoor layout and your indoor layout. We saw the beautiful locomotive that you did. I mean, there's a lot of material there that I think people would like to see. So,
well, upcoming projects, that's what we'll do. And tonight, I think we have a few more minutes. We're going to do you a little second presentation. Steve Sherrill's actually going to step in here.
Oh, God.
And this came up just recently. He had a visitor to his railroad who did filming for the YouTube show that just was presented. And the subject came up with so many trees that Steve has on his layout. I have the same thing on my interior. Now, I'm in G scale and he's a lot smaller in ON30, but that doesn't matter. We're using the very same type of vegetation that we're gathering from out in the wild. We don't buy trees. And how we process those and get our trees made out of them. And I'm using 5 different varieties of vegetation on my indoor layout, and he's using probably multiple ones as well. So I'm going to let him step in here and real quickly go over this, because it's timely in that the materials that you want for this, you need to go out and kind of identify where they are right now, find them where they're growing. When the first frost hits at the end of the season, this is when you're going to go back to those locations and harvest this vegetation. You're going to bring it indoors and you're going to start your work. But you really need to go out there now and find out what it is that you're looking for. So I'm going to let Steve have the seat, and I'm going to move out of the way.
Okay, tonight we're going to do some trees made from natural products. I primarily use a sedum. And I use what's called Alden Joy sedum. There are different kinds of sedum. And I pick them. First, I locate them. And once you know what they look like, it's easier to select them and their locations. And I've gone up to strange houses and approached the doors and said, hey, I'm a model railroader. And you've got plants out there that I'd like to go ahead and cut down. And after the first shot or two, they give in. But I have shown pictures of model railroading. I have a magazine. I show identification because really you're coming up to strange people. So the sedum that I pick is a plant that's about this high when it's mature. Okay, and it can have a thickness in a trunk like this. Now, I take that material, once it's matured and has gone through the season, and it's purple, and then it goes brown. It looks like this. When it gets to this color right here, it's time to harvest it. And I'll go and I'll cut them down right at the bottom. Because what I do is I take and I cull them and pick out the pieces that I want to use. Obviously, in ON30, I can't use the full mature tree, which would be this big. I use a much smaller part of the tree, or the bush rather, excuse me. So what I look for is the type of sedum that you can stack to give a layered look. And so if you see something like this is what the hillsides look like. Now, once I get them, I cull them down to small pieces. And I spray them with a green paint. While the paint is wet, I will put grass, different colored grasses, and different colored moss type colors on them. As you can see on this one right here, we have a dark color and a light color. And so that when you stack them on a hillside where you maybe have 400 or 500 of these, you get a very nice layered look. And since we live near Harpeth Ferry, we get the exact, what we're trying to produce is that look. It's a tree covered hillside. And since I'm modeling in April, everything is starting to get real green. And so I have a green. So I have like 10,000 of these on my layout. And they really get the job done. As an individual tree, I think Steve uses the bigger part of the tree and uses the trunks. I have exchanged some things with him to make to add on to create a hillside. And so, we frequently change materials. Now, he uses glue. This is a clear matte medium. So he uses something different than I do. I use the green because I don't want any of the brown to show through. In the part of the year that I'm modeling, you really wouldn't see much brown. And so that's a difference that we do. And I've used 100 cans of this stuff, I guess. But it's in 25 years, I haven't had any of the stuff come off. So I've got some experience in it. Now, we've got some other things that he has picked.
Yeah,
The spirea is another plant.
we have to bring that forward. So I'll tell you a little bit about spirea. Spirea is a low growing find at landscape centers and typically used around the houses and commercial buildings. The little funny story behind this is that we have a Bob Evans restaurant here in the area, and I made arrangements with the manager that I can come there the week before Thanksgiving and trim 12 inches off the top of all his spireas. So this is my source for the spirea, and you'll see it's a more open type plant. Say, typically here we have locust trees as a type of vegetation, and this is a simple way to model our wild locusts.
He also has
The next one we have here, this subject came up during the upgrading session the other way, and they asked me, what are these things? All right, these are dead dwarf Albertus. Now, you can go and buy dwarf Albertus. You'll see them in the landscape centers around Christmas time. They put them in little pots and put ribbons and bells on them and sell them as miniature Christmas trees. These little guys are a hybrid of that. These happen to have died. They don't get any bigger than this. That's as big as they get. So I got them for nothing. They were dead. Just cut the stumps off the bottom, the roots and stuff. And these have been sprayed with a, like Steve said, a green paint, then covered with a little bit of a green ground foam. And the last shot that I use on these as well, I either use hairspray or clear matte that he showed you before, just to lock it down onto that finish. When I do my trees, he had one here earlier, I use at least 2 colors of ground foam. And in between those, I'll do the first one in the darker green, then the hairspray, then the lighter green, and then the hairspray again. So it's like 4 coats. And I've found in G-scale, it also works to take 3 or 4 of these trees and glue them together down to stumps, so you get a little more mass. Steve's forest on his layout is pretty dense. So you mostly see upper crowns, where mine, you actually see it right down to the ground. So you're looking for a little bit different look on those.
another thing that can be used is to go to a pumpkin patch. We have farms in the area here that sell pumpkins, and people come in and they buy the pumpkins. If you look at the stems that break off and they're laying in the field, they have a very nice color. The color is very authentic to what we want to achieve. Now, this one that you see here is kind of distorted and not a very good looking. But if you cut it off, you have a very nice looking stump. It also has a root formation that you could put in the ground and set it. And then put your dirt around it and a little bit of foliage, and you've got a very nice looking stump. I have also ground these up for ground cover. Any questions on any of this?
That's an amazing, that's just a pumpkin. I mean, that looks, it would take you forever to sculpt one of those.
Well, I've got bags of these pumpkins now. If you're doing a swamp, this is a great. You can imagine it's in a swamp.
That's a terrific idea.
Okay, that's it.
That was absolutely, both presentations just fantastic, and it just proves, I mean, you always learn something on new tracks modeling. You honestly do. No matter how many years you're at this, there's always something. Excellent job, you guys.
Well, one last thing I wanted to point out, if you look above Steve's shoulder, do you see our nice sign we have in the background?
The G-men. Should be the Steve men.
Yes.
The Steve men.
The Steve men.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Excellent job. Next up, we have Bob Davidson, modeling on a budget. And the title is going to be Cheap Tricks. But before he goes on, I want to share with you. Can everybody see this? This is the cover of the new magazine coming out, replacing our Observations newsletter, New Tracks Modeler magazine. That's the cover, June 2025. We'll be pushing nearly 9,000, I don't know if you want to call it subscriptions, but pushing emails out. So it'll have great coverage. And I want to show you how you can all participate with articles before we move on here. So I did this demonstration a couple months ago, and here's what I'm requesting from our participants who do live PowerPoints for New Tracks modeling. When you do your slides going forward, make sure you put some text on them. So if you have a photograph, put a caption on there for me. I know you might not need the caption, but I'm going to show you how we can get great articles from your presentations with no effort or very little effort on your part or on my part. Your part is to do the PowerPoint, put the photographs on there, put a caption on there. We need the text on there. And let me show you why. And so, can everybody see this?
Yes.
Okay, this is Chat GPT. This is an AI program. So showed you this before. We can take a PowerPoint. So we haven't seen Earl Hackett's presentation yet this evening, but I'm going to use his as an example. So if I put Earl Hackett's presentation into Chat GPT, everybody see it hanging in there?
Yep.
And if I say to Chat GPT, write me a 3-page article on this PowerPoint. Here it comes. Y'all see that?
Yes.
And it's just taking keywords off of his, he doesn't have this much text in his PowerPoint. He just has key sentences describing the photographs, and AI goes in and extrapolates the data. And then if I say, would I like it in Word? I mean, this is for me, but if I say, make me a MS Word file. And here is the Word file. I downloaded it. I don't know if you can see that, or do I need to do another share? Can you see the Word document?
Yes.
So here's the article, the whole article. Now I have to go in and make sure it's not perfect, but I'll take care of that. So,
No, we can't see the Word document.
oh, okay, hold on then. Let's do this. Okay. Can you see that now?
Yes.
Building Reliable Hand-Laid Switches by Earl Hackett. and it goes through. Can you all see that?
We should be able to, Tom. I see it.
Okay. Well, the moral of the story is that we get between 250 and 300, maybe as many as 400 views on our YouTube channel for these presentations, which is a substantial amount. But when we send out our new magazine, you now will have between 8 and 9,000 people looking at New Tracks articles that take minutes to produce using Chat GPT. Uses weird words and things, but 95% of the work is done. And the only thing I ask of you is to continue doing fresh new presentations for New Tracks Modeling live for our YouTube channel and Zoom channel. And when you do your PowerPoints, put in captions and text, just a little bit. You don't have to go crazy, just enough that ChatGPT can pick up what exactly you're presenting. We literally have hundreds. I think we have 300 presentations from the past 3 or 4 years. My intention is to use the previous month's New Tracks Modeling live presentations all 4 weeks. For example, for the June issue of the New Tracks Modeling magazine, I'm going to use the May PowerPoints, bring them into ChatGPT, create articles, edit them, drop in the photographs. It makes producing a magazine very easy, much easier for Tom Farrell if you guys just put your captions in there. And I'm not boasting, but I have before me here I subscribe to all the railroad magazines. I have RMC, Model Railroading, the Narrow Gauge Gazette, the NMRA, and you judge for yourself when you see this June issue of New Tracks Modeler magazine. We have a better product. And it's basically our team here, your PowerPoints, and us publishing it on our platform. And I looked at how many people work at Model Railroader. They must have a staff of 20 or more on here. And our one-man show with the PowerPoints from our participants, we're going to have a better product. But I need your PowerPoints. So enough of my plug. I hope we can move forward here.
Tom,
Yeah.
this is Father Ron.
Mm-hmm.
Do you need just captions, or can our GPT use the notes section of the PowerPoint? I put a lot more in notes than I do on captions.
That's a good question. Why don't you send me one and we'll try it?
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know that for sure. I don't know. That's a good question. We can always cut and paste it in there just as at the end of it. It doesn't care of the order of things. What do you guys think? Fascinating technology, isn't it? You're speechless. Okay. Well, let's switch to Bob Davidson, who is a technology guy, and I know he likes it.
Yes, I do. Thanks, Tom. Let me share here, and we will get busy here. Let me play this. Everyone can see this, I hope.
Yes, sir.
So, Those of you who've been watching for a while, as Tom said, a year or two ago, I was doing a thing where I pretty much just stuck to the Dollar Tree stores in my area and was doing some cheap finds at the Dollar Tree store. Expanding it a little bit here, this came up last week, so this was put together in the last week. So cheap tricks, modeling on a budget. Where we're going to look at some deals that you can find at Dollar Tree, Hobby Lobby, Lowe's and Home Depot, Walmart, or Michael's. These are all chain stores that I'm sure there's one or more of these in everyone's area. And this is just some things that I found that I've used through the years, and I hope that some of you may find some good ideas here. So start off with some great finds. I talked about this before. These are plant clips that you can get at Dollar Tree. They're there now because this is a spring item, so they're there for the planting season. For $1, obviously it's $1.25 store now, not a dollar store. But you get 10 large and 10 small spring clamps. These are fantastic little clamps to use for modeling. I use them constantly. I use them when laying track, and I use them for my just structures. Here's a recent project that I'm working on now. I'm building a large natural gas tank that used to be off the Long Island Expressway on the border between Queens and Brooklyn. So these are all parts that were cut on my laser. And then I'm using all these clamps, and you can see here, I think I have 24 clamps out right in this picture. I have hundreds of these because they're so cheap, and they have the right tension on them so they don't crush your model. So just a great find it, and like I say, you get 20 of them for $1.25. Scraping and picking tools. So this is over in the craft aisle. Tons of stuff at the Dollar Tree. This is something I was doing an abutment. This is a plaster casting, but it was only finished on the back side because it was made to, go up against it was a trestle. So I carved in the front side. Like I said in the previous slide, we used to be able to get dentist tools, but a lot of dentists won't give them away anymore. So for $1.25, you can get a couple of scrapers, and they're really quite good. They have pretty good handles on them. Lots of stuff in the hardware aisles at Dollar Tree. 6 foam brushes for $1.25. They're usually 50 cents a piece. If you're over at the Ace Hardware or wherever, you get 6 for $1. The putty knives, they're plastic putty knives. You use them once and throw them out if you're doing, I'm using joint compound for roads and stuff like that. If you're spreading caulk, if you're laying down track, which is what I use to lay on my track, you use them once and throw them out. I said cable ties. So 60 cable ties for $1.25. Occasionally there'll be sales at Harbor Freight if you have a Harbor Freight, but these are the everyday prices. Sandpaper, again, you're going to use it and throw it out. So this is, I think you get 36 pieces of sandpaper, small sheets. You don't need the full sheets, and you're getting that for $1.25. So there's lots of stuff at Dollar Tree. Isopropyl alcohol. I use 70% for just normal thinning for stains and things like that. I'll use 91% when I'm spraying, but the 70% is fine, just if you're doing some India ink washes and stuff like that. And again, $1.25. The eyeshadow in the cosmetics aisle. These are great little things to do weathering. They go on like pastels. They have all different colors. There's a lot of glitter colors if you're doing metallics. So as it says here, you can also get makeup brushes. They have some really good soft brushes, especially if you're using powders, rusting powders and stuff like that. Nail polish is great for some really high gloss paint for signs and stuff like that. Acetone, which is a super glue remover, and lots more. I found this just the other day. I was in there and I saw this. It's a pack of these are counting blocks, which I never heard of. These are perfect scale. This is 2.5 foot cubes in HO scale. And if you see any construction sites now or a cement plant, they take all the extra cement and they cast these cubes. And they just put a little ring of rebar on the top of it. Well, these would be perfect size if you're doing any modern modeling that you need some of those concrete blocks. And again, you get 100 of them for $1.25. Other things at Dollar Tree, I could go on and on, but in the kitchen area, I've gotten the splatter guards that you put over a pan to prevent the bacon grease from going all over the kitchen. That's great if you use like sawdust for weathering or for areas of, dirt and stuff. You can use that to basically screed it. Kebab sticks make great fence posts and things like that. You get 100 of them for $1. And they have different sizes. They have the large ones and the small ones. Storage, there's containers, spray bottles, all kinds of stuff. And the most important is I can get my snacks there, candy and pretzels, because you got to eat while you're modeling. So, Lowe's Home Improvement, I go to Lowe's because I get the discount there. The one thing with Lowe's is they have clearance racks, so find them in your store because there are some really good steals back there. A lot of spray paint winds up on the clearance rack. So do check that out. And a month or two ago, I needed some 1/8-inch dowel rod. I was doing some telephone pole. I was actually doing a industrial transformer tree kind of thing for one of my industries. I needed some 1/8-inch dowel rod. I didn't feel like driving over to the model shop, so I went to Lowe's. And lo and behold, I was able to pick up 10 pieces, 4 feet long for $8. That's 1/8-inch rod that'll last me a lifetime, probably. That's a lot of telephone poles. So check that out at Lowe's. Hobby Lobby. Hobby Lobby is great, and I'll say this about Hobby Lobby and Michael's, because not only do they have some cheap stuff, but they also have sales all the time. 30% off craft stuff, 40% off, 50% off. So this is something I use. They have these 11 by 14-inch sheets of, it's 0.7 millimeter acrylic, clear acrylic that I use for all the windows on my buildings. 99 cents, you get a sheet of it. So it's like really cheap. It's rigid. It's actually, they say it's plexiglass. I don't think it's plexiglass. It's just acrylic. Another thing I found, I just saw this today. I was there. These are 12 by 12 self-adhesive. This is just vinyl. But if anyone's in O scale modeling in O scale or larger, this would be a perfect black and white checkerboard floor for a diner or for a business or something like that. And it's self-adhesive vinyl. They have all different colors of vinyls there that they use with the Cricut machine, which is a vinyl cutter. And a lot of times they'll have them on clearance for $1 or $2. So that's something to keep in mind with Hobby Lobby. And this was something I actually bought these today. Pipettes. My hobby guy sells them for like 50 cents a piece. Here they had a pack, 6 large and 8 small pipettes for $1.49. And that's before, a 30 or 40% discount if you get their flyers. So do keep Hobby Lobby in mind. Walmart obviously is good for a lot of stuff, but this is the one, they have this apple barrel paint at Walmart, and they have a lot of matte colors. A lot of the acrylics, which you can get, at Hobby Lobby and everywhere else for 59 cents, but they have these matte colors, which are really nice, and they're 58 cents. So they also have sewing supplies. I buy embroidery thread that I've been soaking with glue, and I use that to make steel cable. You'll see that when we do the water thing on the June My Build. Michael's Copic markers. Greg Cassidy did a phenomenal build just using marker pens. Michael sells them. Again, the thing with Michael's is to wait until you see their deals, because they'll have 30, 40, 50% off sales. I bought like 6 cans of the dull coat there, and I paid like $3 a can because they had a sale on it. So, they don't know. So you just have to, if you find that coupon, this is stuff that's there, just waiting to be used. So I want to end with a little lesson learned. So this is the story of the deep throat clamp. I've been looking for a long time, those little clamps I showed at the beginning, they're really great, but they only have about a 3/4 inch, even the large ones, grip range. I was looking for something that would have a deeper grip range. And the problem is the ones, if you look at like spring clamps and things like that, they're too strong. They're going to crush whatever you try to clamp. So I finally found one that was made by Bessie, that's made by Bessie Clamps. They have small ones and large ones, but I found these small ones, and it has about a 2-inch throat on it. And they're just fantastic. Just the right amount. These are called needle nose clamps. Needle nose clamps by Bessie. So of course, I did what every good American does. I went to Amazon. And there they were for $11.49. I said, that seems a little high. So I just did some searching around now that I knew it was called a Bessie needle nose spring clamp. And lo and behold, at the local Granger, which is the last place I would think I would get the deal, they were $4.50 each. They're also sold at Menards. We don't have one in my area for under $4. So the lesson here is do your shopping. As I say here, troll the aisles. It's amazing what you'll find. Just take 5 minutes if you have it, and I regularly just will walk up and down the aisles at the Home Depot or the Lowe's and just see what's there and see what I can use, especially checking the sale stuff that's, either in the middle of the aisles or in their clearance sections. Find and use the coupons, especially Hobby Lobby and Michael's. Joann's is bankrupt now, so they're gone. Look for alternative uses. There are folks that are using a lot of the stuff that we use for other things. Like Steve showed before, those signs, the real estate signs, the coroplast, that's a material that we can use, Look for alternative vendors. So again, maybe it's not always going to be Amazon. Think of the industrial supplier. Maybe there's a little specialty shop around. So do go looking for that. And last but not least is look for freebies. I have always had, when I had the shop, I've since sold it, an open house day for the local model railroad club where they could come and go through our garbage bins. Because we throw out a ton of wood, we throw out a ton of laminates, plastics, Sintra, coroplast, all that stuff. So look for freebies. They're like Steve was showing, you can do a lot with a little. There's those signs, I pick them up too, especially after election years. There's a lot of that crap out on the corners. So you can pick that up and do a lot for a little or nothing. So any questions?
I purchased dull coat today at $8.59.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I wouldn't think they just happen to have 6 cans sitting on the shelf with their regular spray paint, the shorty cans.
Yeah.
And normally it was $7 a can. This is about 4 months ago. They were normally $7 a can. And I had a 50% off coupon.
Well, we are really looking forward to the return of your program in the fall.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Maybe we'll do a monthly, do a couple different ones each month.
Yeah, it's just absolutely fascinating. Yeah. You have me on the edge of my chair here.
Well, thank you, Tom. It was a pleasure doing it.
Any questions for Bob? Okay.
Again, they're a small but speechless crowd.
Next up, we have Jamie Bothwell, News and Views S-Scale 2-rail, a LocoFi installation. Before he presents, though, his sponsor is, or our sponsor for his segment, is the National Association of S-Gaugers.
Are you looking for something a little different in your model railroading? The National Association of S-Gaugers suggests you take a look at S-Scale. An S-Scale model is just 36% longer than an HO model, but it's 2.5 times the volume. The larger size translates to increased ease of maintenance, more durable details, and improved electrical and mechanical reliability. S-Scale modelers use accurately proportioned wheels and track systems with KD-style couplers. Exceptional S-Scale models and layouts are being built in both standard and narrow gauge. Locomotives and rolling stock are available from a number of manufacturers in both ready-to-run and kit form. Equipment is available both new and through an active secondary market. There are numerous manufacturers of track, buildings, vehicles, and details, both ready-to-run and in kit form, available for those who love to build. And many S modelers enjoy kit bashing and scratch building in the larger size S offers. To learn more, visit the website of the National Association of S-Gaugers. Here you will find the history of the scale, information about clubs in your area, see layouts and connect with current manufacturers and online groups, plus much more. In short, the website has everything you'll need to explore model railroading in S-Scale today. Come on board and visit soon.
We could spot Jamie. Assuming he's here.
Jamie, you have to unmute.
I see him. You might have left the station. Let's go back to.
No, he's here, but he's not unmuted, so and he
I
may
see.
stepped away.
Yeah. Well, let's switch to Earl Hackett, and we'll go back to Jamie. But Earl Hackett has a presentation. Hi, Earl. Welcome.
Hello there.
Earl is part of our team here on New Tracks, working behind the scenes. And I convinced him to do a presentation. He's going to do one scratch building switches, turnouts, and reliable operation with hand-laid switches. And it's a very interesting presentation and demonstrates his skills. So, Phil, if you could start his PowerPoint, that'd be wonderful.
All righty. Okay, let's get this guy started, Phil. There we go. Okay, what I want to do here is I'm going to show how to construct a very simple switch. It'd be a straight switch as one straight track and an offset curve track going off to one side or the other. And once you've mastered this technique, more complex track structures can be considered. I've built three-way switches, double slip switches, lap switches, because I build switches to fit the spot that I need it. I don't take a standard switch and plug it in there, make everything else work around it. And again, this is not a model of a prototype switch. The design has been, I don't put all the detail, all the nuts and bolts and all the connecting rods and everything else in there. It's just too much. But this has been, a fellow taught this to me, these techniques, back when I was in the Air Force 50 years ago. And I've been using his approach ever since. And I just don't get derailments. They just don't happen. And that's what I consider reliable in operation, is no derailments. I can't stand derailments. They drive me crazy. Okay, Phil, next one. So this is just a prototype switch. Couple things to note. Look at the entrance into these what do I call them now? Senior moment. This entrance here is very shallow, very smooth. So when the flange comes in and it catches it here, it's not going to get jerked over. It's going to go. Looks like it goes all the way back to somewhere in here before it gets to the proper width.
The frog.
The frog. Yeah. Well, the point of the frog is where it's the only place it matters. That's really what's important. But your capture rails over here, they're very, very smooth, and that you'll see why that becomes important as we get onto it. This doesn't show the structure of the frog, but I will show you how I how I copy the prototype method of building a bolted frog. So go ahead to the next one, Phil. The prototype uses, and this is for a light rail, like a trolleys or whatever, but they all use a big steel plug filler that goes in here, and they bolt the rails to it. That ensures that you have the proper clearance in the flangeway here. On the class 1 railroads where they're running heavier stuff, this plug, this filler, will occupy the whole thing. It goes all the way down, across the bottom, up this side, and around here. Massive hunks of steel that they shove in there. And so I position the rails where I need them, and then I just fill it with solder. And so this whole area becomes a big solder fillet, and it's extremely stable. I have some switches on my layout that I'm building right now. This is their 3rd installation. I just pull them up on the old one and put them in with a new one. And that says something for the robustness of this type of construction. Go ahead to the next one, Phil. Okay, well, here's we're getting started. This was a demonstration switch. I did this years and years ago, and I really didn't know where the rails are going to go, so I just used full-length ties, and I cut them off after you get the rails down, cut them to length. But the first thing I do is get the ties glued down and stain them. Then you take a sanding block and you sand them until you don't see any more stain. Then you know everything's a flat surface. Very important. Even though I machine my own ties, and they're cut on a gang saw or through a thickness sander, when you glue them down, the different thicknesses of glue, something about the homosode or anything can knock them out of alignment. And so you have to go through and make sure that when you're done, they're absolutely flat. But otherwise, you're going to kink the rail when you spike it. Okay, next one, Phil. Okay. This is a standard switch. So in this case, the relative positions are known. And the first thing you're going to do on a standard switch where you have a straight rail, you just put that rail in first and nail it down. And you just remember to put a little cutout. Prototype doesn't do this, but I cut away the base of the and a little bit of the rail head so that my point will nestle into it and snuggle down so there's nothing there for a flange to catch and cause a derailment. All righty. You want to make sure that this rail is, if it's supposed to be straight, you want it to be dead straight. And you want it to be, if you have other turnouts, you want a long straight edge. I have a straight edge that's a real straight edge. It's 2 feet long, but I have some aluminum bar stock that is about 10 feet long, 1/4 inch aluminum. And it's straight enough for me. It's not a perfect straight edge, but it's straight enough. Okay. Oh, there we are. Okay. Now, spiking. I have several ways of driving spikes, but this little gizmo that I made I took a regular old nail punch with a Dremel. I just cut a slot in here so it fits down over top of the railhead. And I have 2 spikes in there, and I can drive both of them at the same time. So you're not in a situation where you drive this spike in and the rail moves over, and then you have to bang it back and drive the other spike. Making a little gizmo like this is really a time saver. I also have a Katie spiker, but I have it set to a very low impact. So it doesn't drive the spike all the way down. If you can drive those things in so hard that it actually bends the rail. It'll actually kink the rail. So after I get it set, I bring this guy along and give it a little tap with a hammer and just snug the spikes down so they're holding the rail nice and tight. That just shows a better close up of it. It's nothing special. And I use it all the time. Now we're going to set the frog. We're the distance between the point of the frog and the stock rail should be the minimum distance every time. It's there's some disagreement with that, but I'll show you why that's important as we get further on in the presentation. But this distance should be the absolute minimum from point, and it only matters there at the point of the frog. That's the only place that's important. It's right at the point of the frog and the stock rail. Okay, go ahead, Phil. Now, this is how I go about building a frog. This is how the prototype does it too. You take a piece of rail and bend it just a little bit, and you're going to file off right down through here so that you get a frog point. I used to take a rail and bend it a little bit and file it off and then fold it 180 degrees. But what happens, you wind up with the rail head sticking out over the front here. And it's not a well-defined point, and it's not very strong either. So after you file this down, then you take a piece of, you file a notch in the back here to make for an inset for another piece that's been similarly filed. Put it in there and solder the whole business together. This gives you a really robust point of frog, and it could take a lot of abuse and not fail. It looks like a complicated procedure, but you use an aggressive file like a crosscut file. It removes this material in literally 5 or 6 passes. It just rips this nickel silver away like this wasn't even there. And for in here, I'll use a little triangular file. So I could the triangular file might be a 1/4 inch wide, or maybe a little more than a 1/4 inch wide. And that'll provide this. And then you just bevel this back over here. Okay, so go to the next one. This is a switch point. And one of the things I'll do on a point, you'll file it down nice and sharp. But you also, at the very top here, I've cut it in at an angle. It's very hard to see, but this has been beveled at an angle so that with the wheels coming along, it doesn't just run into a vertical wall. This is about the bottom of the front point comes out right about in here. The bottom of the flange comes right about to here, and so it gradually gets pushed onto the rail. It doesn't, boom, hit it and make a big bump. Anytime you feel a bump when you're going through a switch, it's a potential derailment. Okay, go ahead. Next one. Now, I do a lot of filings, and so I made this little filing jig. For doing big things like the points or where you have to remove a lot of material. It's just a little holder to hold the rail. So I just file away, and it makes filing a whole lot easier. So it's another little tool to make if you're going to be doing this kind of stuff. All right, Phil. Okay, here you can see we're lining up the first closure rail, and the wing rail is in here. The gap here is set as a minimum. There's a on the I didn't show it on the NMRA gauge is a tab that should not fit into here. So you can't, if it's narrower than that, that's fine. You can always open it up later. But we'll get this thing and we'll just get these 2 lines up and make sure this is typically if the two rail bases are touching, this is code 70. If the two rail bases are touching each other, you're going to be pretty darn close, and you might have to make some adjustments later on. So what I've done, I spike it in a couple locations, and then I'll slide the closure rail up until I get the distance I want between the two. It's a it's just a simple way of adjusting this gap. You don't want to sit down and try and adjust the angle that you bent here. That's not going to get you where you want to go. This should be the proper angle for the frog, and you just slide it in until you get it to the proper flange width. Okay, Bill, next one. Here's the tab I was talking about. These two should fit into the slot. This one should not. If this fits in, your flangeway is too wide. So once you get to this stage here, you're ready. These are all lined up. Flanges, both flangeways are set. Just solder the whole thing. Just fill it with solder and be done with it. Okay, next. That's what it looks like after you plugged it with solder. This will probably look like a manganese cast frog when you're done. So what you'll do now, just come on the file, just clean off the rail heads, and then go ahead to the next ones, Phil. We're going to check again, make sure that when it's all said and done, we're still sitting at the minimum gauge. And go ahead, Phil, to the next one. I think it shows clear. No, I don't show it. I thought I had that picture there. Basically, I take an old hacksaw blade. Just take when a hacksaw blade gets dull, the last 3 inches of each end are still pretty sharp. So I just break those off, and I use them like a narrow file to go in here and clean the solder out of the flangeways. And it's also very handy if you have to make an adjustment on the rail heads to get the proper back clearance gauge. You can go in with hacksaw and just take a few thousandths of an inch off without any trouble at all. Okay, go ahead. Here I'm setting up the guardrail. And you can see here that this is bent out here, but I've actually filed the railhead back, and the actual closure goes back to about here. The important part is right here at the point of the frog. This is where the closure rail. And I'll show you how this has to be adjusted in a minute. But this is the important critical. The critical dimensions are right in here. The rest of it doesn't make much difference. You just want this to be a nice, even, smooth capture, so that when a flange comes in here, it gets gently captured and slides into position at the point of the frog. And this shows more clearly how these things work. Those two little tabs you saw on the track gauge, they were going to set the positions of the wing rails and the guardrails. If you put this against the stock rail and you bring it down, it should not drop into this flangeway. If you put it against the guardrail, it should drop into the flangeway. If that's set properly, you're well on your way to making a really reliable switch. Okay, go ahead, Bill. They call that the check gauge. So here we've got all the things all in alignment. Everybody's positioned. I throw in a whole bunch of spikes, make sure nothing moves. Now this was laid down just on Homosolt. There's no actual. You could use Homobed, but this is a switch yard, so it was just a flat area. But you can see these areas here is very gentle curves. I've seen some people build a turnout and they just bend this thing. It's sticking out like a 45-degree angle. That's a guaranteed disaster. But you want nice gentle captures. And you can see the scribes from the saw. You can see this one here. This go all the way back to about here before it finally gets to the proper flange width, flangeway width. Okay, go ahead, Phil. Now, Fast Tracks has a real nice video that shows the relationship between the wheel and the frog and how it drops off of the closure rail and picks up the point of the frog without dropping. And that's really important. But if you go to the prototype and you take a look at the way they design their frogs, the frog actually has a little bit of a drop toward the point to compensate for the conical taper, the 3-degree taper of the wheel, because as it rolls off of the wing rail, it actually drops a little bit, and so they drop the point of the frog it's only about 1/8 of an inch, something like that. They drop it just a little bit so it doesn't bang and hit it. There's a nice smooth pickup as it comes off the side. I've never bothered with that, but you're talking a thousandth of an inch or something. And my stuff isn't as heavy as theirs. Now, the one thing that Fast Track says in that video, it says that the track gauge at the frog's point is irrelevant. And that's only partially correct. If you're let me drop the mouse. Come here, mouse. If your guardrails are properly positioned, that's right. The guardrail against the stock rail will not allow the flange to run over and contact the tip of the point of the frog and cause a derailment. But if the track gauge exceeds the minimum, the flange can collide with the heel of the wing rail, which is not designed to accommodate the frog. It's not smooth. It's not a smooth taper. It's just a whatever angle the frog is. And this is my final test. Go ahead. Bring on the next one there. Take a truck. Make sure the wheels are gauged properly. And you load it against first the stock rail. And you roll it back and forth over the whole switch. You should feel nothing. You should feel like it's just running down smooth, normal track. And then you load it against the closure rail, which is the frog. And you do the same thing, back and forth. You should feel nothing, absolutely not a bump. If you close your eyes, you wouldn't know you were going through a switch. And you do it on both legs of the switch. And when you get to that point, you just don't have derailments. And the reason I started building all my switches is because if I'd ran that test on any commercial track, you feel bumps and lumps and it's just an invitation for derailments, which like I said, I dislike derailments. Now I'll say that the one company that made switches that were spot on, and a guy gave me some, and I said, okay, I'll try them out. I was surprised, but the switches from Micro Engineering were absolutely perfect. The only problem is they only make number 6s. And I need to me, a short switch is a number 8. A number 6 like this would be used in a siding or an industrial spur. But my mainline switches are all 10s or 12s, something like that. So anyway, when you roll that trick, loading against the rails, you feel no different than moving along a standard track. And close your eyes, you shouldn't be able to tell you're in a switch. Any sideways movement as it passes through the frog, any sudden sideways movement is an invitation for a possible derailment someday. And you repeat this for all 4 rails, and if you pass that test, you got a good switch. So I think it's the last one, isn't it, Phil? Yeah. So that's,
Excellent presentation.
but I've been doing that for, the guy that taught me how to do it, build the thing, he was using printed circuit board ties. And yes, they work, but I can never make a printed circuit board tie look like a wooden tie. And you just look at them and you go, that's a printed circuit board tie. I don't like that. So I gave up on that technique. I just use all wood.
Well, it's certainly not your first rodeo, as we say in Indiana. That looks great.
Yeah, it's I used to make all my ties out of basswood, but now I'm using poplar. Poplar is a whole lot nicer to work with than basswood.
A little harder, I think, yeah.
No, it's actually quite soft.
Oh, I mean, compared to basswood, yeah.
It's about the same.
Yeah.
It's about the same as basswood as far as hardness goes. But when you cut it, when I want to mill basswood into tiny strips, it often has a curve. There's a lot of internal stress in it. I get these twists and curves. The poplar just stays dead straight. I have no problem with it.
Do we have any questions for Earl? Well, thank you for an excellent presentation. Just as a side note, in my little diatribe on utilizing PowerPoints from the show for articles in our New Tracks Modeler magazine, Earl's was perfect. He had titles, he had bullet points, he had just not excessive text, just enough that chat could run with the concept and extrapolate an article out of it. So Earl, you're the model for our article.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And, Jamie, we missed you. If you're game, we can keep going here.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry. Did I fall asleep earlier?
What do you mean you fell asleep? It was such an exciting program. You fell
Did
asleep?
I'm sorry.
Anyway,
Anyway.
just because it's not S-gauge doesn't mean that it isn't interesting.
Well, yeah, but I have a day job, so
I'm just having a little fun with you. Well, next, Jamie, if you would, we're going to do a LocoFi installation. I guess you're going to move one encoder to another. Is that the concept, as I recall?
I guess something like that. I'm not sure. Did you run the video? Are you gonna run the video, or are you gonna?
Did I have the? Maybe I've mistaken here. Did I have a PowerPoint from you, or did I have a video?
No. Like the S scale video.
Oh, we ran it already.
Yeah, you did. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I missed that.
I
Right.
wasn't sure what you were talking about.
Yeah, no, sorry. I just,
No, we ran the video.
Okay, great. All right. Let me just see here. Share screen. Let me just give me a sec here. Well, all right. I'll just do this. Just click. Okay, so share screen. Where's my PowerPoint here? There's Zoom. It's hiding on me. There we go. Okay. There's what we want. All right. So view slideshow. There we go. All right. Let me just close up this so I can see the whole thing. Okay. So as Tom mentioned, I'm Jamie Bothwell talking about S-Scale. So what we're going to try to do today is make this work, and it doesn't want to. All right, what am I going to do here?
See if there's a forward button on it. Sometimes.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah, down there. That's the one. Use
that one. Okay, all right. So we'll go with that one. It's not usually it'll work with the arrow keys. Okay, so experiments with dead rail, trying out LocoFi. All right, a new Trek sponsor. So what happened was I was talking to a friend of mine. A number of things. There's a number of things that came about. Is that a friend of mine said that he thought LocoFi sounded pretty cool because it was Wi-Fi. He wasn't really keen on anything Bluetooth. And I was kind of hemming and hawing with battery, and I thought maybe I would give it a shot. And then Steve Sherrill put his program on a bit ago about, what batteries to buy and whatnot. And I tend to be an Apple guy, so I have an Apple phone. LocoFi doesn't really have an Apple app. So I thought I bit the bullet. I bought this old whatever the other system is phone. And it's I don't know, whatever, it's a track phone, but I'm not the other guy, whatever you call that other system.
Android? Is it
Android,
Android?
that's it. Right, Android. So the Android, so I bought this Android phone. I found it online. I paid $40 for it, plus shipping, whatever. Anyway, so I got that. After Steve's video, I picked out some batteries, and so I ordered some things. I got a charger. I got all set up. And then a friend of mine had actually given me a LocoFi module to try out, and I looked and looked, and I put it somewhere. I can't find the dumb thing. So finally, I just broke down. I bought a new one. And so there's my first setup. That's my first test right there. There's my 4 batteries that run off the 2 holders. And then I've got the LocoFi module there, the sort of tan thing in the middle. And that was just a CAN motor that I had laying around. I just, rather than try to hook it up to an actual locomotive, I just hooked it up to a motor to see if it would work. And sure enough, it did. So I thought, okay, I got to move forward and put this into a locomotive. Now I ran into a small problem, which was my fault. I bought a diesel sound system because I had intended to put it into a diesel. And when it showed up, I couldn't find the diesel that I was hoping to put it into. And I figured out why a little later because I've since found it. But I took it over to a friend's house, so it wasn't down with all the rest of the train. So anyway, the steam locomotive is currently making diesel sounds. So at some point that'll have to get rectified, and I'll put that back into a diesel. So I figured at the very least I had I occasionally set up with a modular group, and I thought it would be really nice to have a battery powered locomotive. The train I was hoping to run was maybe 2 or 3 passenger cars and a single diesel. So I thought, even if this LocoFi thing didn't work for my home layout, I would still have this set up to run with my club buddies. And I figured that battery pack would work pretty well, and I could power, for the amount of train I was hoping to pull, I figured I could get away with 2 powered axles and just disconnect the back. And so, like, if I had an F unit, it was gonna be FP7, and I could fit that into the back of the FP7. I'd have plenty of space to fit all that in. So as I said, I haven't really had a chance to try that yet. So I found the FP7, so I got to get at that and see how that all works. So there's a close up of this was a steam locomotive. I thought, well, it'll all fit in the tender. Excuse me. Well, it didn't really fit into the tender. So I just have the tender. It's just riding on the tender. It doesn't really fit into the shell. The tender has a fairly large weight in it for some reason. And so it wasn't fitting in there particularly well. So I thought, well, before I take the whole thing apart to try and fit it in, because it's a diesel sound system anyway, I might as well just futz around with it a little bit. So that's what I did. So let's see, moving forward. So now I got to do this and I got to do this. And hopefully that'll show up. And there we go.
So it worked.
So it worked. Okay, and then so let's see if I go back to here and I'll just do this. Moving backward, and I'll click this and click that. So you can hear it's making kind of diesel sounds. And it's a steam locomotive, but as I said, job in the future. Okay. And
Amy, I hate to do this, but did you share with sound? Because I didn't hear sound.
okay, I don't know. I'm just playing it off my computer, so it doesn't it's not all that great anyway. So it's like I said, it's just a diesel. So okay, and then because why not? Oh, I can't. Okay. I just thought, it's battery powered, so let's have a little fun. So, I know Earl's not going to be terribly excited because I can run without his track program there, but there you go. Who needs track? What the heck? think of the layout you could build if you didn't have to put track down. Okay, so let's see, back to my share here. Let's see, view slideshow. Okay, so back to the slideshow. Current future plans as they stand, okay? So the next thing I would like to do is battery time tests. One of my disappointments is I'm finding that it seems to drain the battery awfully fast. So I'm going to have to do some work with that to see why it is it's not. I don't know if you noticed, but when I was showing the run test, it was actually running off a new 9-volt battery that I rigged up to make it work. So again, this is all just sort of trial and error here, putting things together and see how it goes. All right. A phone range test. I took it down in the basement the other day to try and make it run in the basement, and wasn't sure. I thought, oh, it must be out of phone range. But then when I came up, I discovered that the battery in the locomotive had died. So I thought maybe I have to go back down and test and see if it'll run on my layout in the basement, or do I need to expand my Wi-Fi? So, and then I do want to test some different batteries. As I said, I need to figure out, like this system is probably good for a cab unit diesel where I have a lot of space to put the batteries in, but it might not be such a great system. This battery might be different if I want to do, as I said, a steam locomotive. I do have a couple of small steam locomotives I'd like to power, and so they are going to need some sort of smaller battery. But again, this is just sort of get me started, see what's going on there. Let's see, what else have I got there? Oh, and just in case anybody's curious, this is the layout I was running it on in the backyard. This is a little tiny layout I built on some bifold doors that someone gave me. This is actually half of it. There's actually 2 more pieces. It sort of wraps around a bit of a corner, not a 90-degree corner, but anyway, it does have legs, but it's currently sitting on the railing of my deck. So it's kind of fun to take it outside when push some cars around. But anyway, just thought somebody might want to take a look at that. I get on a Zoom with some friends of mine every other Tuesday, and I'm talking to my friends. I still fall asleep. So anyway,
Well, thank you again, and I appreciate the presentation and your
okay.
ongoing support. Well, that's it, folks. We're going to have the show closing. I'm sorry we ran a little late. That was my fault on my unscheduled presentation on NewTrack's Modeler magazine and the ChatGPT and et cetera, et cetera. But next up is Father Ron and the traditional closing for the show. Father Ron, wait till we are spotted before we begin here. There he is.
O God, as we create in miniature the world around us, may we marvel at the beauty and genius which created the world and instilled in us a portion of your great knowledge and wisdom. Give success to the work of our hands, O God. Amen.
Thank you, Father Ron. And now we'll have we'll just go right to the caboose, Phil.
Ya, berjalan di atas aspal teman-teman ya. Terlihat lindasan rodanya.
Now, just a minute ago, we saw Jamie Bothwell run a locomotive on a tabletop. So it just shows you there's a prototype for everything. Well, that's today's show, and thank you all for your participation and viewership. We'll see you next Wednesday.